What's up, beer fans? Tonight we're going to have our first ever head-to-head beer competition, and it's going to be amongst Guinness Draught and Left-Handed Brewing's Nitro Milk Stout. As far as I know, somebody please correct me if I'm wrong, these are the only two beers on the market bottled with nitrogen gas. And they're also in direct competition with each other, not only for that reason, but Left-Handed Brewing, this little brewery over here, wants to challenge Guinness. And they had an ad campaign that says, taking back America one pour at a time. And it's a direct, you got this little brewery over here confronting this giant behemoth of a brewery over here. Another special feature we're going to have tonight is the first ever video where Mrs JOhioBeer is going to come in and give you her thoughts on these beers. She's going to do a blind taste test between the Milk Stout and a Guinness. And she is probably the world's biggest fan of Guinness beer. Hands down, it's her favorite beer in the world. She's never had Nitro Milk Stout. She has had the regular Milk Stout. So, that being said, a little about each beer. Nitro Milk Stout is brewed by Left-Handed Brewing, and it has a beer advocate score of 88. It clocks in at 6% ABV, and it is brewed in Longmont, Colorado. Guinness Draught is brewed by St. James Gate Brewery in Dublin, Ireland, and it has a beer advocate score of 78 and clocks in at 4.2 ABV. They're actually different styles of stouts. Guinness Draught is a dry Irish stout, and Nitro Milk Stout is a milk stout, which is a sweeter stout. But, like I said before, these are the only two beers, as far as I know of, that are bottled on nitrogen. Guinness uses what they call a rocket widget to add the nitrogen into the beer, and Left-Handed Brewing did some kind of magic that they won't disclose, and I can't blame them after they invested hundreds of thousands of dollars in the technology to put nitrogen gas in their beer and actually bottle it that way. So, that being said, let's crack them open, do a little review on each one, and I'll pick my favorite, and then we'll bring in Mrs. JOhioBeer and see what she thinks. She won't know which one's in which glass. For all of you listening out there, on my left is the Nitro Milk Stout. So we'll crack the Guinness open first. We'll put it in the clear glass. Crack this one open next and see how they both pour. Compare heads on them. Okay, as you can see, the Guinness pours to a much nicer head than the Nitro Milk Stout. You know, maybe, though I didn't hear the rocket widget in the bottle, maybe they've gotten rid of that. My information may be a little dated there. But anyway, let's start with the Guinness. It is the probably king of stouts. I don't know that if you think of stout, you don't think of Guinness inherently. To the smell, you smell a lot of roasted barley, and that's about all you smell. There's no hop scent. There's not a whole lot going on there other than a roasted barley scent. It's a very dark, deep, almost a burnt kind of scent, and that's what you're getting. It's incredibly smooth. It's so smooth it's unreasonable. It's almost like silk sliding down your throat. And I guess that's what Guinness is famous for, and especially when you put it on nitrogen like this with a lot smaller bubbles. I mean, that's what you're getting. Other than that, you get a nice bittering from the hops and the dark roasted malts. It's smooth, it's clean, it's easy to drink. I don't know what more you can say about it. Most of you probably had a Guinness. You know what I'm talking about. Let's see how the Nitro Milk Stout is. There's a lot more going on in the nose here. There's a caramel, a vanilla, a chocolate scent even. There's a lot more going on to the nose with this beer than there is with the Guinness. It's a lot more complex. It smells much better, actually. The Guinness is simple and it smells simple, and I mean, I like Guinness too, and don't take me as getting it wrong. Guinness is really good beer. I like it at times. I'm not a huge fan of it, but I do like it. Now, the Nitro Milk Stout isn't nearly as smooth to drink. It's very smooth, but it's not anywhere close to that silky, just slides down your throat feeling that you get from the Guinness. But it's smooth. But there's a lot more complex flavors going on here. There's a chocolate, a vanilla. Wow, there's a lot of really good flavors going on here. And it's a total package where Guinness is kind of boring in comparison to it. Yeah, most of the bittering here is from the dark malt. I believe this beer has a IBU of 725. And, you know, I don't even know how they get there. It doesn't even seem close to that bitter. It seems a little sweeter, probably because they're adding lactose to call it a milk stout. But well, there's really no hop bitterness to perceive, but there's a lot of complex flavors going on there. To taste them side by side, yeah, that tastes watered down. It really does in comparison to the milk stout. It's smooth. It's much smoother than the milk stout, even though they're both on nitrogen. They should be very, very smooth beers. Guinness is remarkably smooth, and the milk stout, it's sweeter, much sweeter than the Guinness. The Guinness is very dry, but the complex flavors. You know, I started out this review with the best of intents, and I honestly don't think you can compare these two side by side, and they shouldn't be in competition with one another. The Nitro Milk Stout is a very, very excellent beer for what it is. It's a milk stout. The Guinness is a very excellent beer for what it is, a dry Irish stout. To pick my favorite between them, be a tough call. They're both truly excellent beers. I guess to pick my favorite for tonight, I think I'm going to side with Guinness on this. I think they've got a classic flavor, and it's just wonderful. The Nitro Milk Stout is a little bit sweet for my taste, and I prefer a drier beer. So it's excellent, don't get me wrong. I like them both. But I think I'm going to have to give the nod to Guinness on this one. Anyway, I'm going to bring in our very special guest star, Mrs JOhioBeer. I'll be right back and let her taste these. Remember, this is Nitro. All right, Mrs JOhioBeer, everyone. She's going to taste Guinness versus Nitro Milk Stout and tell us which one's her favorite.
Okay. I think he may have already told you that I'm a big Guinness fan, so I hope I don't pick the other over it. Let's see. We'll start here. That's definitely not Guinness. Definitely not. Not that it's a bad beer. I'm just saying it's just definitely not Guinness. It's got too much of a coffee flavor that you would associate more with a dark beer. I don't think that that's Guinness. We'll try this one. That's definitely Guinness. You can definitely tell the difference if anybody had any doubt. This is definitely Guinness. This is just smoother. It doesn't have those overwhelming flavors that you often associate with a darker beer. Not that the other is a bad beer, it's very good. I like dark beers, but lots of people stay away from Guinness because they're afraid of it because it's dark and they think that they won't like it because of that. However, until you've had Guinness, you'd have to understand that it's a very mild, very relaxing kind of a beer to drink, and it's not overpowering at all. Whereas when you drink a dark beer like this, you can definitely tell the difference. So I still like my Guinness best, but not that this is a bad beer. It is very good. I just prefer the Guinness, I guess. Thank you.
I told you we had a resident Guinness expert. She picked it right and still loves Guinness the best. Have a good night. All right, so I've conferred with Mrs JOhioBeer, and we're both of agreement. Guinness is a better beer. Not saying the other one's bad, but our sessionability is going to have to be much higher, way, way higher on the Guinness. I don't know that you could really have too much of it in a single sitting. So we're going to give it our highest sessionability at a 6-pack rating. Now for overall, it's smoother, it's nicer to drink. For a craft beer review, I'm going to give it a 5-pack. It's an honest to goodness juggernaut of beer. It's been around forever and a day. You know, most people like it. I myself included. I don't know how I could say anything bad about Guinness. Guinness is Guinness. When you think stout, you think Guinness. They're the mark everybody shoots for. And I think Guinness truly hits that. I don't really have a problem with their beer. There's nothing there bad about it. I don't think it's the world's greatest beer, so I don't want to give it the 6-pack. But we'll give it a 5 for overall. I think it truly is one of the world's great beers. I personally love this stuff. Now, the Nitro Milk Stout. For sessionability, it's a really delicious beer, and I would really recommend everybody try this beer because it is unique. It's interesting. And personally, I like it better on CO2 than on nitrogen. That's me. A lot of people are going to argue with me on that, but I really do. I think it's a better beer when it's on regular carbon dioxide. So for sessionability, I think the strong flavors and the coffee and chocolate notes that are in this beer and the vanilla scent are just going to wear out on you. I'm going to give it a 3-pack for sessionability. I don't think you could drink a ton of these in a single sitting. That being said, I don't think it's intended for that. And for overall, I'm going to tie it with Guinness there. I think it's a truly excellent beer. I'm going to give it a 5-pack overall because they've done something wonderful. It is a really, really tasty beer that hits its mark as a milk stout. It's slightly sweet. It's got a lot of interesting flavors to it, and I think you'll enjoy it. It's a really good beer. So both beers are really good beers, but for sessionability, Guinness is the king. The smooth, silky feeling going down your throat, the super smooth feel of that beer in your mouth just makes it the flat-out winner between these two. This is tastier, but not necessarily better.